Welcome to day 2 of the Academy of Simple Martial Arts 7-day challenge. Here's we're going to go through our basic review. So each lesson kind of has a template here. We review what we did last time, and we add to it, and then we close it with a little review. Okay, so last time we covered just some really basic stepping, and so we're going to go over that again, and then we're going to add how to kick and how to strike today, and maybe a block if we have time. So first off, we had our neutral stance. We've learned this. And we had our front bow, okay, our front stance, left side, right side, okay, and we had our side stance or our horse stance. And then we had how to make a fist. So just reviewing you roll it in there, tight fist, roll it in there, tight fist. Let's do our review now. Okay, we'll do this as a little set to get the blood moving. It's just going to be those leg motions and the hands. Ready? 1. Back to neutral. 2. Three. Now the nice thing about this stance is that you can go either direction very quickly. Okay, so let's just do one more. I'm going to left bow, right bow, left, right, side horse, and sideways to the front, to the back, and back. Okay? So the hardest part of your hand is going to be these first 2 knuckles. Okay, so these 2 knuckles have to be aligned on the target. If you hit with these last 3, your wrist will have to be in a strange angle. The weakest bone right here, down your arm, if you hit with this one, oftentimes we'll break this in your hand. They call it a boxer break. So kind of a common break. We want to keep it here. Okay, and even if you hit with this, the 3 knuckles, better the first 3, the second one. I want you to focus on the first one. So if I make a fist here, we roll it over, we already know how to do it, and I put my hand up, where you can see it here. Okay, so it's going to become, if your fist is formed this direction, you'll be hitting with the whole part of your front of the knuckles, including this right here and this. And that's not a bad thing. Okay, some styles train that. If you're hitting up into the head here, eye socket, mouth, that's a pretty strong punch. But I really want you to focus on the first 2 knuckles. So we're going to tip it down a little bit. We're going to get this bone, this knuckle, in line with the wrist in line with the elbow will be in line with the shoulder. So if I'm pointing, you see this is a straight line, and I just make a fist that stays there. What we don't want to do is we don't want to punch too high here because you'll hit this direction. We definitely don't want to punch like this, or it's going to cause a fracture this way. Okay, so how the rule works basically is if we're punching at the solar plex, we're going to be hitting with a flat fist here, palm down. If we go any higher than that to keep our rules solid with the 2 knuckles, we're going to have to turn our hand to a vertical fist. So here's a vertical, here's the normal fist, here's the vertical. Now the reason for that's really simple. If you look at my knuckles, if I'm using this concept where my knuckles are straight, as soon as I get higher to keep those knuckles straight, I have to start bending my hand. If I were to punch high like this, the energy is going to go straight out there. I'm going to probably injure myself more than my opponent. So if I'm punching to the face, I'm going to use a vertical fist. So if my knuckles are turned out here, if I turn my hands, this is a vertical. Okay? If I go up, it stays on these 2 knuckles. I even tell some of my students, when in doubt, just use a vertical punch. Now, let me explain to you how you get here. Okay, so we know how to make a fist. There's 3 things that we want to remember with our punch. And we'll do a traditional one from here. We'll do a couple from up here too. But to understand the mechanics of the punch, we want to make sure that we hit with the first two knuckles and that we twist on impact. So the impact point is here. Okay? Then we twist, which drives the force through. And then we keep the arm slightly bent. Okay? So we don't want it hyperextended, locked out. We want it slightly bent. So if my target's here, my impact point's there, I'm going to drive through. We're going to keep our shoulders squared and isolate these punches. So for now, I'm just going to have you go back to a bow stance. And like I said, we'll go from the hip because it trains the arm to go all the way out and back. Or if you look at the distance from here, right, this way, we're only training that small range of motion. And from here, I'm training the full range of motion. This is why we're pulling the hand back to the hip. The likelihood of you going from this position, setting up in this position, probably isn't going to happen. However, your hands here, in the confrontation from here, the punch is coming right from down here. If you have time to go up to this position, okay, you probably have time to throw the punch. If you had a choice, obviously get your hands up. But we're going to do it from this position here just to make sure that we learn the full motion, then we shortcut it. We always learn long before short. So we're going to make our fist. We're going to push it right toward the solar plex, the center of our body. We keep our shoulders squared. We don't want to punch like this. Okay? These are just mistakes beginners make. Everything's squared. We're not going to go for power, just fluidity and accuracy. We're going to come up, twist, come up, and we're going to twist right on impact. So the hands come together, right? They move together, and then right on impact they both twist. And you don't have to overextend. You don't want to be overcommitted. So it's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now we're pulling back with one hand, pushing with the other. Pull, push, bang. So the pulling hand back allows this hand to get a little bit more power. So we're going to do that motion. The mistakes beginners usually make is they'll pull the hand back, then they'll punch. And they lose some power there. The other one is that they punch without one hand twisting. So they end up doing that. These are easily corrected after your first couple of training sessions. And then number 3, which I really want you to watch for when you're practicing on your own, since I'm not going to be there to correct you, is this motion. When you start swinging your body and your punches in, just sloppy. So arm, the elbow slides up along the body, out, twist. Up along the body, out, twist. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. When you first do this, I want you to have a firm fist, but not a super tight fist, because you'll automatically kind of learn to throw the body in there. But not a super loose fist where you're just flicking it out there. So just make a fist, shake it out a little bit, and then just make sure you're focusing on the first 2 knuckles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's a basic thrust punch. Really easy to do. In classes, we practice that usually from a good solid horse stance. We get really low, and we may do, 1,000 or 2,000 at a time. And oftentimes, when you get a little bit tired, your body actually doesn't want to work hard, so it actually gets the movement more fluid and kind of easier. You kind of fall into it because you're not trying so hard. So what I'm going to suggest you do when you're practicing it is not to be hard on yourself, but go for repetition, go for numbers. Just keep the rules in mind. The 3 rules were hit with the first 2 knuckles, twist on impact, and don't lock your arm out. And then, other than that, keep your shoulders squared. None of this pulling back. It's not really a rule but for the punch, but that's body mechanics. It's from your bow stance and your horse stance. So we've got a stance. We got a thrust, right? Now we got to do the next strike, which is a front kick. So the front kick, there's a couple of different ways that you can apply the front kick. The first one we're going to learn is with the top of the foot, and the knee just kind of points, the toes point downward, and then the instep comes up, just like you're kicking a soccer ball or a football. Bang, up. So now when you do this instep kick, you have one target in mind usually, and it's the groin. Okay, so that means you have to have access to it. If he's standing like this, or even slightly sideways, or even back like this, that kick isn't going to be your best option. Okay, because just with a little bit of a flinch back, the top of your foot, the bones are very small there, so they're weak. They can get busted pretty easy. But if you have the target, an instep kick underneath the groin is a really good self-defense movement. So we're going to work with that one first, but the mechanics of a front kick are the weapon that we use, be it the ball of the foot, the top of the foot, or the heel. The mechanics of the kick are the same. There's just 4 parts. There's the chamber, the extension, the retraction, and the set down. So chamber, extend, retract, set it down. Chamber, extend, retract, set it down. Those are the 4 things you need to pay attention to. In the beginning, standing on one leg is going to be the issue, not the kick. So if you're really new to moving around at all, and you haven't done any sports since high school or something, the easiest way to learn this kick is going to get a chair or someplace, even a wall, to put your hand on. And when I say put your hand on, I don't want you really leaning on it. You just need to know that there's safety. So I'll have my students put their hand, their fingertips, just touching the wall, not leaning, okay? That's not good training either. So I'll have them just touch the wall so that they don't wobble back and forth. Pull the leg up, bend the supporting leg, point the toes down, put the knee hip level or a little bit higher preferably, and just extend out and just feel that motion. Even if you can't even lock the leg out of the way and you're only getting this much, just get it going. You just do about 10 of these, then you switch sides. You don't have to switch hands. So now what you're doing is you're working on just the kick and not the balance. In about 10 of those, you switch, and you just do 5. Then you switch, you do 5. Okay. Then you do them from this position. Now, what I want you to do is not lift and hold. I want you to lift, kick, retract, set down. Do the other side. Lift, kick, retract, set down. Lift, kick, set down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so again, you're hitting with the top of your foot, and you're coming right up under the groin and upward, this direction. Okay, if we switch this, which we're going to, and use the ball of the foot, that allows the target to be the front of the groin, or the pelvic bone, the bladder, the solar plex, or even under the chin. Whereas the instep can only come up and under. But if you're close enough, and you got the target, you drive that up there, that can be a fight stopper right there. So here's how we're going to train this. We're going to go back to the stances with the hands. So let's go left leg forward, that's the left bow, as our hands come up. Remember to shake it out a little bit. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to lift the knee, extend it out, and get it back here as soon as we can. The rule about the front kick is that the most important thing is retraction. If you leave your foot out there and it gets grabbed, you're going down. Not only that, you're on one leg. Don't want to be on one leg any longer than you have to. So I'm going to lift my leg up, kick, and put it right back where it was. Exactly where it was if I can. Okay, later we'll move, but the knee, hinge at the knee, and back. Lift, and notice this leg, it stays bent. Okay, not this. Not telegraphing it. And then one other thing that will be easy to do, and you might not even know you're doing it, but now you will because I've told you, is no swinging. Okay? It might have some power, but it's overcommitted. If you miss, you're probably going to fall down. So we're going to lift, kick, back. Okay? So here we go. Get in your stance, and with me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And now when we switch stances, I'm going to stay level. I'm going to bring my knee up to the other knee and shoot the other leg back. I'm not going to stand up. I'm going to keep this levelness. I want to train myself at this level. Other side, 10 kicks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Back up, and now you can shake it out. If you do this properly with a low stance, you can feel it after 10. After 30, you really feel it. I always like the number 30. Okay, so if you want to practice any of this stuff, do 30 of them. I'm not doing it on this one because we have a limited amount of time. But 30 is a pretty good number. Warmed up, builds some stability, it builds some balance, but also it starts giving you some endurance so you can start kicking harder. When you're practicing the motions for the very first time, take all power off, all intensity off. Okay? You just step, kick, and just get nice and relaxed and fluid and accurate. Because if you're not accurate, it doesn't matter how powerful you are. So the second tip I'm going to give you, besides take the power off, is to visualize what you're doing. Visualize the target. Visualize hitting that target every time. Okay, so that's the front kick. So now, I always like to teach a new thing, review everything else, and then teach another new thing. So we've gone left, you can do these with me, right, forward left, forward right, side, side. And we have these motions as well, okay, which is the same thing. I just added those today. From that position here, we went back to the left side. We put a left hand out with the other hand. We went up, twist, up, and twist. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Then from there, we learned the front kick. And we learned there's 4 stages to any kick: chamber, extension, retraction, place down. So we lifted the knee, hit with the instep, got it back to the ground as fast as possible. Hit, get it back as fast as possible. Hit, get it back. Hit, get it back. And then back. So we've got thrust punch, a front kick, and all the stances we're going to need. It's actually, we're really doing really well actually. And if you're probably feeling pretty good with just the stuff that we did last time, but this new stuff might feel a little awkward. It's kind of the way the lessons go. We review the old stuff, make it feel good, and then we learn something new. We're going to do the punches from the high position. So from a left position here with our hands here. Okay, so on this motion, a lot of times when the front leg, front hand is leading, oftentimes that will be called a jab, and this will be called a cross. Okay, and we just utilize those terms because everybody knows usually what that means. And that's what I'm going to do. When I do it down here, I call that a thrust punch because it's different because you're pulling. This is a jab and a cross. Kind of the same, but a little bit different. It's different because it ain't going as far. Okay, so it's going to be a little bit quicker. And you're already in a ready position. Okay, so you're probably not going to have if you're down here, you probably have the time to do it, or at least you got the distance. So from here, the first punch, okay, your hand, your 4 fists distance from the rib cage, knuckles facing your opponent, and you're just going to go arm, slight turn, and then you can let the shoulder go out a little bit, and then you're going to pull it back before this one goes out. Okay, so for today's training and for the next little while, I don't want you to go push and pull this way, because the beginner will start to rock'em sock'em robot. Okay, I want this to be an independent punch, that to be an independent punch. Okay, so it goes 1, 2. Okay, not 1, 2. Again, just depending on how you use it, there's nothing wrong with it, but we want to learn these properly, then we can break all the rules. So here's what we're going to do. We're just going to extend out and then turn the body slightly. Back. And we're going to turn the body slightly and then let the hand go. And then back. And we're going to punch straight. So watch my left hand. Watch that straight, right at you. Okay, not this way. Okay, straight toward the target. Okay, this one, straight toward the target. This one's an easy one to get into a bad habit because the turn is to do this. Okay, so you follow that twist. That's not where he's at. So for a person that pulls back because he knows his distance, okay, if you pull this way, you've missed him completely. You're opened up in two areas. This one, at least, you've got a bit of a cover. So we're gonna go jab, get it back. Jab, get it back. We're gonna do 10 of these. Okay, so just rest your hands, make your fists firm but not too tight, arms loose. On this one, you know how I told you to keep your leg locked and your knee bent? When we're doing up here, when we're being the aggressor, the attacker, we don't want to be super firm. That's more of a defensive stance. So on that one, I'm going to let you bend the back knee a little bit and get comfortable in this position. You'll naturally find it, and you'll probably do it anyways. So left hand, left leg, call it a jab. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, slower. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now, for the record, the jab isn't your most powerful punch. Okay, it's probably your weakest punch. It's a distance finder. If you miss it, if you miss him, he's not going to be in range for the second punch. That's one way of thinking of it. You hit him, now you know where the next opening is and where the distance is. The cross is going to be a little bit more powerful because the body is behind it. See how my body's behind it? I start the turn first, then the hand comes in. Here I start the hand and then the turn. This is I'm starting my body. I'm rotating the hip, the heel, the knee toward my opponent. Okay, see the shoulders behind my elbow, and then I rock it right straight in, and it goes straight, and then I need to cover. This is covering up here, so now I got to get that back, and I come back. So the easiest way to practice this is rotate, lift your heel, your back heel, turn the knee in, rotate the hip toward, do not let this hand follow. Rotate the hip a bit, I'm exaggerating it a little bit, and then take the hand and send it straight in, and then get it back. Okay, always practice a fast retraction. You never want to leave your weapons out where they can be grabbed or smashed or broke or taken from you. Okay, so here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, now we put these together. Okay, when I have you next time, I'll have you practice these. I will be adding little steps and stuff, but we don't want to add those until we have our hands doing what they're doing. So jab, cross, or we call this combo 1. It's the first combo we teach the students. Jab, cross. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Hey, and shake out. That's one. You've done a lot today. Do our review. Okay, you've done great. We've learned a couple of punches, combo, a kick, and we already know our stances. So let's run through all this once. So you already know the routine that we did. Now let's go through this kind of quick. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, and back again. Okay, and then we'll go back to a left bow. We'll throw a front kick in there. Throw another front kick. Then we'll switch to another stance. Throw a front kick. Throw another front kick. And now we switch to the stance. We'll go jab, cross, cross. Switch to the other stance. Jab, cross, and back. Okay, now, since you already have that routine down, and I'm sure if you've done it even once or twice, it actually is pretty easy. You're not thinking about distance or anything. So what we're going to do is we're going to come back. Hands come up. We're going to throw that front kick in, and we're going to throw 2 punches. And I don't want you. Then we're going to stand back up. And I don't want you to go any quicker than this. Okay, pull the hands up. Practice the front kick. Practice the punch. Okay. Now, in reality, I need to tell you this because you have to start seeing what you're doing. If you land this instep kick, if you're close enough to land the instep kick from here You're almost close enough to get it with those punches. Okay, so if you land that front kick for real, and you step back, he's coming down. If you're not fast enough, you'll hit him in the top of the head and hurt your hands and not him. Okay, so I need to tell you that because I want you to understand that we're just doing a sequence. We're practicing a fighting position, we're practicing a front kick, we're practicing 2 punches. And if you miss the front kick, he moves back and then in, you need to follow up with punches. Okay, after a kick, always punch. After a punch, always kick. So you could pull back up, throw 2 punches, and then kick. Okay, so the guy might step back from the punches and you have an opening to the kick. It's a kind of a matter of understanding what your opponent's doing. So I don't want you to think too much about it because we'll get it, but I need you to understand that that's not necessarily, if you kick somebody in the groin and throw 2 punches and he's coming down, you're going to damage your hands. Okay, so here's the training. We're going to come back, kick, punch. You want to stand up? We'll go to the other side. Okay, kick, punch. Now to the other side. This is number 3. Kick, punch. This is number 4. And you don't have to practice quicker than this. 5. You'll actually start getting quicker as it becomes easier. 6. 7. 8. 9. 10. Okay, so that's an easy way to kind of start practicing a little bit. But I'm going to encourage you to take each one of these lessons and each one of these motions and for a little time on your own, spend some time practicing the accuracy and the technique and the proper movements. Once you get it, you'll be really surprised how they come very naturally and how other things later on are easy to pick up. Okay? And I'm talking about put your hand against a wall or on a chair or on your banister, pull up the leg and just work on the structure of the kick and don't worry about your balance. Just work on the structure of the kick. You can stand in your normal position, practice making a fist while you're waiting for whatever you wait for. Okay? You can make as tight, if you want kind of a good workout, you make as tight as you can, you squeeze as tight as you can, you tighten up as hard as you can, and really tight. If you've done some conditioning and you have good abdominal control, you can wake yourself up a little bit and then relax, but don't let the fists out. The fists are still tight, but you're able to move. Okay? And then release. You do that 20 times, you'll literally start to sweat and your hands won't want to open up. You know you're done when you do it and your hands just do that. And you got to kind of shake them out. That's probably time to stop doing the motions. Always make sure you wiggle and get the blood back into them. Okay, so I'm going to just hope that you understand that it's really easy to get good if you pay attention to the basics and the structure and the technique and do it right instead of hard and fast. Everybody always wants to go hard and fast. I'm the same way. I learn a technique, I want to do it really super fast. Yes, I want to do it exactly like that. There's never been a technique I have ever learned in 35 years of teaching that came to me fast and I had it. I can combine things that I've never done before, but I've done them, I can combine them in a way that I've never done before and look fast, but it isn't the first time. Okay, I'm just reordering them. I get good on my techniques, I get fluid and fast, exactly the way a beginner does. That has never changed in all the time that I've practiced. That's one step at a time, one technique at a time, 1 minute at a time, one repetition at a time. The speed comes because of the way we train. It's not the purpose of our training at this point. If I'm stepping back, raising my hand up, throwing these punches, over time, my body will just start to go faster because it can, and there'll be no pressure on it. Now, if you're thinking, if we want to talk just for the last second here about self-defense, and you're thinking how this stuff works, will you be able to use it in a confrontation? You're going to react the way you have trained, even if you have limited training. Okay, it's how they train soldiers, police officers, the fire department. They put them into situations that are as close to real as they can get, and then they respond and they train, and then that's how they do it when it really happens. But they all wonder the same thing. Is it going to happen? Am I going to do what I'm trained to do in a situation? Well, here's what I know. I know if you have no training at all, you're not going to react at all. Okay, your reaction is going to be safety, cover, hide, run, okay, which might not be a bad thing to do, but if that's all you have, that's what you're going to do for sure. In fact, you can't do something you don't know. If you've practiced even a few things in a very short period of time, if you have to and something happens, that's going to be a natural thing because there is no other choice. Okay? Your mind is going to want to protect your body. Okay, so what's going to happen is it knows that this is, because of your training, it knows that this is defensive, not this. Okay, it knows in a very quick time. I've had students with 1 or 2 classes get in a self-defense situation and come out ahead because they knew what to do and they had very limited knowledge. It's really interesting. It surprises me every time, but I had one. The first one I had was so long I can't remember how long. But basically, this was the lesson he got to. And the situation happened. It was self-defense. He didn't start it or anything. His hands went up and he went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And the guy fell and his arms kept going. And his friend kind of grabbed him and stopped him. And he was like, "What's going on?" He never thought he would use it or that he could even make that decision under pressure. So when I asked him why he did what he did or what he thought about, he said, "I didn't think." The guy reached, grabbed him and punched him because my hands went up, and since they were up, I'd been practicing that the night before, they just did it on their own, and then they just wanted to stop. Okay, so don't doubt that a little practice goes a long ways if you don't worry about it too much. You've done the first 2 of our 7-day challenge. As you progress through on, lesson 4, 5, 6, and 7, I won't have to explain all this to you, and we can learn more things. We can sidestep, side kick, front kick, block, punch, elbow, all within a couple of lessons without me having to over-explain everything if you are practicing just a little bit like I've asked you to. Okay, so thank you for making it through day 2. Your homework is to take that routine that we did and just practice it 2 or 3 times. Don't even make it a big deal. I don't even want you sweating. I just want you, before you go to bed, stand up, kick, punch, kick, punch. Maybe stand there, throw a few thrust punches, and then try to remember all the theory that we said. The punch was hit with the first 2 knuckles, twist on impact, keep the arm bent. Okay? The kick was get it back. The stance was back leg locked, front knee bent. On the punches, it was on the jab, the hand and the body. On the cross, the body, then the hand, and making sure we go straight and not hooking. Okay, thank you again for showing up, and I'll see you tomorrow for day 3, where we're going to learn a block and our first steps. Then we're going to start putting it together and start learning self-defense movements that are very applicable.